close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Ger McCarthy, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Star Sport podcast. I'm Jack McCarran of the Southern Star and I'm joined as always by Star Sport editor Ger McCarthy. Today's show is going to be a Beamish Cup special dedicated, Kieran, to the biggest competition in West Cork soccer.
Yeah, Jack, the Beamish Cup final takes place this weekend where we see defending champions Drinagh Rangers taking on Togher Celtic, who are going for their first win in this competition since 1997, and we'll be joined in today's show by the managers of both sides.
And Southern Star soccer correspondent Ger McCarthy will also stop by later on in the show to share his thoughts on the game. But Kieran, I suppose before we chat to the managers, the Beamish Cup, you mentioned it before to me, it still has a certain lustre in West Cork. People within West Cork soccer, obviously they want to win the Premier, they want to win Division 1, but there is an extra oomph to the Beamish Cup that people want to get their hands on it.
There is, it's just that cup competition, that knockout element. I kind of are liking it to the FA Cup final before the FA Cup final lost its lustre. Was that back in 2000 when United headed off down to Brazil for a jolly up and a sun up, you know.
So you're saying if Drinagh for any reason pull out next season, they go off to some tournament elsewhere, the Beamish Cup might lose a bit of its magic.
That could happen, but there's such a love for the Beamish Cup here in West Cork. I can't see Drinagh or any other team pulling out. It's a fantastic competition, and it's knockout too, you know. Kind of the league, probably kind of the best team will always win the league, but there's something special about a cup competition because on any given day there can be a giant killing, there can be a big upset. Just turns out this year that we've Drinagh Rangers back in the final again. They've won it the last 2 years. They're going for the 3 in a row, and they've been the dominant force in West Cork soccer these last couple of seasons. Of course, last year they won 5 cups on their way to becoming the West Cork Sports Team of the Year, which was a fantastic accolade for a West Cork League team. But they're taking on the kind of local rivals, Togher Celtic, who won't fear them. And that could make for a very interesting kind of final because Drinagh will start as the favourites. Togher have nothing to lose. So when you have that sort of chemistry going into a game, Jack, you just don't know, you know.
Well, before we talk to the managers of both sides, I just want to get a few of my biases out on the table here. I'm a bit bitter about the Beamish Cup this season.
A bitter Jack? I'm not.
Because I had my first experience playing in the Beamish Cup this season with Baltimore. We took on we were on for a bit of a giant killing. We were mid-table championship side or Division 2, whatever it's called, taking on one of the Clonakilties. I'm not sure whether it was AFC or Town. That's how much interest I had in that particular game. But after
and Baltimore wonder for where they lost this game, huh?
I'll tell you, I was playing centre half. It finished 0-0 after extra time. Went to penalties. There was this real sense of a few of the league games this season. Kind of, we felt with it. We won a few 3 or 4-0, or we lost a few 3 or 4-0. It was all kind of like, who cares really? But when it came to the Beamish Cup, I saw amongst my teammates show a real need to win this game, and it was a team playing above us in the league, and we were short on today. I think we only had 11 players. Maybe someone came along a bit later. That was kind of the story of our season. But we went to penalties. I, of course, buried mine in the bottom corner.
Oh, it goes without saying, Jack.
Goes without saying. But unfortunately, I'll give credit to the Clonakilty keeper who made a fantastic save for the last penalty to send us packing, and that was essentially our season over, because after I scored my penalty, which I'll remind listeners of again, I kind of, somewhere in the back of my head I thought, we're going to win the Beamish Cup, even though we'd had a very mediocre season in the league. But you know, there's still that element of excitement. You're like, you'd never know, and that's why the Beamish Cup is so special.
So for that brief fleeting moment after you scored that penalty, and your nickname is He Shoots, He Scores McCarran, after you scored that, for those couple of seconds you could picture yourself in the Southern Star preview just ahead of the Beamish Cup final.
Yeah, I could
see yourself
actually be writing it about myself. That would be pretty meta, wouldn't it?
But then you lost, you're out.
We're out. But in case any of the Baltimore management or coaching staff are listening, I'd like to put myself forward for a role maybe in midfield next season. Like centre half, yeah, it was fine, but I'd like to, be able to get my creative juices flowing a bit more next season.
So is this an exclusive, our first exclusive on the Star Sport podcast? Jack, are you re-signing with Baltimore for next season? Are we hearing it here first?
McCarron demands midfield berth. That'll be the headline in the Star next week. Although I don't think my decisions about where I want to play in the West Cork Division 2 Junior League is going to make much of a... I can picture bonfires all around Baltimore this weekend after the management read or listen to this podcast, and they realise that jumping Jack, he shoots, he scores McCarron, will be back for next season to kind of to propel your drive up to mid-table and hopefully on to further glory. Maybe just above mid-table.
Just above mid-table, all going well, touch wood.
All going well. Well, we leave the trials and tribulations of Baltimore FC there for now. Go Crabs. And we'll hear from the managers of the defending champions of the Beamish Cup, Don Hurley and Declan Deasey of Drinagh Rangers.
I'm joined now by the management team of Drinagh Rangers. Don Hurley to my far left and Declan Deasey beside me to chat about Sunday's Beamish Cup final as Drinagh put their crown on the line and he chased the three in a row as well. So welcome, lads. But before we talk about the game itself, I'm intrigued to see how the dynamics of a joint management team works. You were telling me earlier you're together since 2002. That's 17 seasons. That's longer than some marriages, and you're still going strong. And I was looking back to see, was there examples of successful joint management teams, and I haven't come up with much, to be quite honest. There was Roy Evans and Gerard Hurley at Liverpool in 1998, and that finished quite badly after 4 months. And Colin Todd and Roy McFarlane with both in the mid-90s, and that ended badly. But the two of you have turned it on your head. So what's the secret to your success, and how haven't you killed each other?
The secret? I don't know. I suppose I played under Dan was manager before I joined him, so I played a certain amount of time under him, so I know how to toe the line with him, to be fair to him. But no, we seem to, I suppose we have the same aims as regards what the team want to do and what we want to get the players to do and what our aims would be at the start of every year. We kind of, I suppose, complement each other and in certain areas on the field as well, in what we do or what we don't do. But we've basically got on without any too many hiccups. There's always an odd one, but there's nothing is perfect. But no, I'd say the main thing is we have the same aims as regards what the team and the club want to do and what we set out to go. And we have a good squad of players who make it easy for us as well, in that they're interested and they go about their business properly all the time.
Yeah, I suppose we like doing it. That's kind of the big thing. Yeah. And we have good support from the local players and the people in the village and things like that, and that helps. And I suppose it's something that I enjoy doing. I'd say Declan enjoys doing as well. So while we can, we'll do it, I suppose.
Is there a good cop and bad cop in this relationship when it comes to how it works, the dynamics of it?
Maybe as regards referees and things like that, maybe.
Sometimes.
Not as regards team, no. We're seen as a joint management or joint bosses, whatever you want to call it.
Declan does all the hard work, to be fair. He does all the coaching and the warm-ups and things like that. I just fill out the referee's team sheet and things like that. So Dec probably has the harder part before the game starts. And yeah, we prepare the pitches and prepare the players and do our best with it. And I suppose we work well together, really.
And to be fair to the two of you, you've worked the Oracle over the years with Drinagh. And let's look at this season. So, I suppose a quick word about last season. That was magical. That was 5 trophies, including the Premier Division and the Beamish Cup. And on top of it, then you were named the West Cork Team of the Year at the West Cork Sports Star Awards back in January, which is a fantastic honour. First time a West Cork League club has won that award. But then you had a slow start to the current season. I think it was 6 or 7 draws in a row in the league. Was that just a hangover from last year, or what would you put that down to?
I'd say a certain amount of it has to be down to a hangover. The previous season, the winter was so bad and the season went very, very late. It was the 10th of June or something when we finished, and we were starting again in the first week of July. Definitely a hangover. Hard to get the interest going, not so much that they weren't interested in playing, but to get the bite back and the hunger back. And I suppose we managed to grind out some of the results. We probably shouldn't have got draws in some moment, to be honest. We should have been beaten, but we managed to scrape home and get the result at the end of the day, which we have been good at. Even going back to last year, we were good at getting results late on, or snatching a win when we were drawing, but we were snatching draws this year when we should be losing.
Yeah.
And once we needed to get a win under our belts after the first 6 games, so we managed to get one away to Clan. That kind of gave us a little bit of spirit back and a bit of bite back in the whole thing. So from there on, we managed to pull it back. Teams didn't pull away from us either. There was no team that ran away with the league or went unbeaten or had an outstanding season. So we managed to pick away eventually back into it, and our form started to get better and better as the season went on.
Because Don, is it fair to say you're kind of hitting form at the right time of the season now?
I suppose since about November we've been, I think, playing very well since we got going. We did a great win against Dunmanway at home in the league, and we played very well that day. And since that we kind of have picked up. I wouldn't say we've played perfectly in every game. I think there's a couple of incidents in the cup where we were lucky to get through, but our league form has certainly picked up, and we've I suppose we've got more numbers back, and we've got more consistency in teams and things like that, and that has helped us as well, you know.
You mentioned there about the cup and extra time. Kind of one of the intriguing facets of your cup run in the Beamish Cup this year is that each game so far has gone to extra time. It was Castletown away was 3-1 after extra time. Spartak Mosgrove in the next game won all after 90 minutes, but you won 4-1 after extra time. Then against Dunmanway Town in the semi-final, 2-1 after extra time, was at 106th minute winner there. Mm-hmm. So what's been the kind of story of the Beamish Cup kind of?
I suppose really we started off away to Castletown, as you said. We played reasonably well that day. It's just Castletown got a couple of good goals, but in extra time there was a strong win there and things like that. We were just lucky. We got a break in extra time. It was a last minute goal. It looked as though it was heading for penalties. And Castletown played really well because we'd played them a couple of weeks before and we'd beaten them 6-0 in the Parkway Cup. So maybe we were a little bit, we took them a little bit for granted at the start and things like that. And following that then with Spartak, we were lucky, really. We were under pressure in the 90 minutes. We took the lead, they equalised, and the last 10 minutes of normal time, we were under pressure and they had a few chances and they could have got a win. But then our guys picked it up again in extra time, and I think once we got the second goal, they had tired then at that stage, so we got a couple of late goals after that. And with Dunmanway was a very tough game. We started really well, and there was a huge wind in Skibbereen. We got to half-time 0-0. We scored in the first 5 minutes of the second half, and you kind of think it would set us up, but Dunmanway are really good, fast players, and they put us under savage pressure, serious pressure, and they scored with a few minutes to go, and then we got a break in extra time, I suppose, where a shot just fell into the goal, really, I suppose, and it put us into the final, but it's not been the easiest of cup runs. We had a tough job to get to the final.
Declan, with Togher Celtic awaiting in the final on Sunday, and your 2 league games against them earlier in the season finished 1-1 on both occasions. I know you beat them in the Maybury Cup recently, but are you expecting a very, very tough game against a team that are sitting fourth in the league?
Oh, nothing else but a tough game. We'd have the most respect for Togher. They're like any game you play against Togher, if you win that game, you've earned that win, because they give away nothing, to be fair to them. As regards the cup final, cup finals can go anywhere. It's a cup final, anything can happen in the day. So it's at best 50-50 going into it. It doesn't matter what position they're on the table or what division they're in. Once it's a cup final, anything can happen, because I remember a good few years ago we played out the Celtic in the cup final in Skibbereen. We managed to win it, but I suppose it was one of the worst cup finals we ever played. But we just scraped home on the day. So it's all down to that. It's down to the day and how people perform.
And I suppose there's great history between Drinagh and Togher. We actually started the same year. Both clubs started the same year. So I'd say, without a doubt, Drinagh and Togher, the team we've played most often in the 30 whatever it is years that the club is going, was Togher. So we've played them most often, and we'd know all their players. They'd know all our players, near neighbours, and we'd know their management for years and all about them. And I suppose it's real. It's a local derby, and it's a very competitive game.
Going for the 3 in a row, and whether Drinagh probably like it or not, you will be seen as favourites going into the game. So is there any do you have to ward against complacency going into a game like this, or is it the fact it's a cup final that all the lads they'll be well up for it anyway?
You'll be hoping so, yeah. Cup final, if you're not up for it, you shouldn't be there, really. It doesn't matter how many times you're in it. It took us 30 years to win probably 2 titles, and we're managed to get into 3 now in the last 3. This is an outstanding chance for our club or the team to create history. So if not alone that, but just the sake of winning a Beamish Cup final, it should be enough to get anyone up. Complacency can creep in. Maybe at the start of the year, when we look back in the league form, that could have an effect subconsciously. I don't think any of our players went out thinking, we're going to beat these, but it's just it should be just on the day again, but
I don't think our fellas will be complacent against Togher at all. They've played them too many times. Yeah.
The league is obviously very important, but what emphasis do you place on the Beamish Cup? How important is that on the scale of cups and trophies on offer in West Cork?
Well, I suppose the league is what you start out to win, because you play 16 games at the moment to win the league. You play 4 to win the Beamish Cup, so it's a bigger achievement to win the league. But having said that, as Declan mentioned, up till 2007, and we were in existence since 1983, I think, we won 1. And we won 1 in 2007, and then again we didn't win until 2012. So we haven't been that successful in the cups over the years. In the Beamish Cup over the years, we've been quite successful in the other cups, but it's something that at the moment we're in a great run, and we'd like to continue it. But it is really important. It's the big day out in West Cork soccer, is the Beamish Cup final. So it's great for our players, be they youngsters, 16, 17 year olds coming into the team, or the seasoned players who've played it so many times before. It's a big day out for everybody.
I suppose the makeup of this team, I suppose the core of the Drinagh team has been together for a good few years. The 2 Barry O'Driscolls, Keith Go, Garrod White, and a few more. But how important is it for you to inject new blood into the team, but to try and do that, but to keep winning as well and not upset the momentum?
Well, I suppose the last few weeks have been a prime example of that, in that the squad has been tight, and we've had to bring in some under 18 players into the squad to make sure we have enough numbers, first of all, but then to make an impact. And against Togher last Sunday, we started a few Sundays ago in the cup game. We started young Robbie McQueen at 17 years of age, and he fitted in seamlessly, and he did his job. And that's straight away a boost to the team straight away, because there's new blood coming in. The other fellas will have to think, we'll have to sharpen up here, because there's someone else going to be fighting for our place.
You mentioned Robbie McQueen there, 17 years old. Let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. Rob Holdham is still, I get this wrong, he's either 53 or 54, so sorry Rob if I've got it wrong, but he obviously came and go last year, and he's kept his place there. What's his influence, and how important is he to the team?
I always say the outside voice coming in does a lot for a team, because it's something different or something new, and he's definitely brought something different. He's brought years of experience from playing with Leeside, and he's coaching in UCC, so he has a real experience in all facets of the game, and he has kept himself spectacularly fit for a man of his years, and his technique and ability haven't diminished from what I've seen. I remember 30 years ago playing against him, and I think he's a better keeper now than he was then, and he was a good keeper then. But as I say, the outside voice coming in always does something to a team. It sharpens things up as well. It puts takes the complacency out of it, let's say. And he came in as a coach or just to help out at the start. Young Liam Callan got injured, and he stepped into the breach when Liam got injured, and he's done his job magnificently since. I
suppose we have a couple more as well, in that we have a couple more senior players. They're nowhere near Robert's age, but in terms of JJ Hurley and Robert O'Regan are really important to us. And they're coaching underage teams in Drinagh along with some of the other players at this stage as well, and that's really important to us, and they've been huge servants for Drinagh over the years, massively. Yeah.
The club is going well in a whole, and I suppose with the Bees winning the league as well, how much of a boost was that, and how is that B team, with the want of greatest respect to them, could that be a feeder team for let's say the A team? Are you looking to kind of take players off that and bring them in, or what's the relationship between the two teams?
Well, I suppose a couple of years ago, when we were short numbers, there was a few lads playing with the B team, and they came into the A team, Paul Hickey being an example, and he made a huge difference to us when he came in. But it's really important that the B team picks up players from the under-18 setup, especially if they mightn't make our team straight away, but give them a year or two playing with the Bees and it makes a huge difference. And it's very important. It generates good feeling in the club if the Bees can keep going. A lot of the Bees actually would be playing in the Masters as well during the summer, which is good. They're all bringing something back into the club, and it's important. A lot of the Bees as well would have played with the club for many years also. So it's great to our biggest job, I think, really is to integrate what is a good underage system and to keep players. The hardest part at the moment, I think, is keeping players between the ages of 16 to 20. I think if you get them, if they start playing it by the time they're 20 or 21, then they tend to continue. But there's a little drop off, I'd say, nationally at that age group, and I think that's a big task for us as a club to keep players at that age group, you know. If
we're looking at match winners, so for Sunday's final, I suppose Barry O'Driscoll, Hawthorne kind of stands out. He's been one of the top strikers in the league the last couple of years, averaging nearly 30 goals a season, which is phenomenal. Kind of, he's someone you'd be hopefully looking to kind of to turn on a bit of magic on Sunday. Definitely, yeah. But we have been getting goals from other sources as well, to be fair. Keith Jago, technically not the most gifted, but the most honest player on the field, and always gets into positions to score goals that no other player on the team can get into. He makes phenomenal runs and scores off free kicks and messy balls in the box or whatever. He never gives up on a lost cause. There's no such thing as lost cause with Keith. Keith is the proverbial human dynamo, and he keeps going all day. Now, all over the field, I would say we have a threat all the time, but yes, Barry and Garrett White, and to lesser extent Adrian Driscoll, and these are always a threat. Tomas Conley when he's there. So yes, Barry is our number one centre forward, but there is others who can contribute as well. And I suppose to on that, Togher some very good forwards as well. Johnny Kelly's excellent, Johnny Hurley, and David Maw is back with them, so they have some real threat going forward as well, not just us, you know. No, fantastic. Declan, Don, thank you so much for joining us, and the best of luck on Sunday. No, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Star Sports Podcast. Don't forget to pick up this week's Southern Star, featuring our award-winning sports section that has everything a sports fan in West Cork could want. Available every Thursday in shops across West Cork and online from anywhere in the world. The Southern Star, #1 for sport in West Cork.
I'm joined in the Star studio by Johnny Collins, manager of the Togher Celtic team that has reached this year's Beamish Cup final that is on Sunday. Johnny, congrats getting to the final. You have a big job ahead of you against the defending champions Drinagh Rangers, who are going strong on all fronts. But before we look at them, let's chat about, I suppose, Togher's league form, this cup run, and how you're fixed going into Sunday. In the league, so the league's over for you, kind of 6 wins, 6 draws, 4 defeats. It's the draws that maybe cost you in the end there? Oh, definitely, Kieran, yeah, the draws, yeah. We probably, out of the 6 draws there was probably 3 we should have won. And it kind of took the momentum out of us, and carrying on, we probably lost a lawyer after drawing with Clontown, and after that we knew we were mathematically out of the race, and but for a while we thought we weren't far off it. We were battling away with the rest of the teams, but that's the way it goes. Even though things probably didn't go to plan in the league, this Beamish Cup run has been fantastic. Kicked it off with a 2-0 win against Clonakilty AFC, then beat Castleack, then the quarter-final you beat a very good Ballydehob team that's battling for the Premier Division title, and I think it was Johnny Hurley, Niall Hurley and Darren Kelly got the goals that day. That's a good Ballydehob team, Johnny. What are the positives you took from that win? The game in Ballydehob, we knew it was going to be tough. I suppose the advantage we were at home on the day, but they're probably the most physically strongest team in the West Cork League. They came full strength the same day. I don't know, everyone from there off that day, everyone was zoomed in, they were focused for that game. We knew we were probably out of the league at that stage, so we said, Jesus, this is a be all in done, and we'll just tear into them and see how we get on. And it was probably our best result of the season so far, performance-wise, anyway, And that was about it. We had the lads at the super game, Johnny, Niall always pops up with a goal, very consistent all season, and Darren Kelly as well in midfield. We're happy. I'm glad to have him anyway, Into the semi-final then against Mizzen AFC, that was a hard slog. That went all the way to extra time. Johnny Kelly popped up with the winner, a 1-0 win. But was that one of those games, Johnny, where the result was more important than the performance? Oh, definitely, yeah, Kieran, definitely. The semi-final
We'd have been on in the semi-final, I suppose, at 3 occasions since 1997 when we last won the Beamish Cup.
Yeah.
And it was like surely this time, third time lucky we get there. And the lads were a bit nervous who that day. I probably made them worse because I was more nervous myself. I probably brushed off on me.
Yeah.
And we got there. It was nervy. The conditions weren't great on the day. It was very windy the same day, Patrick's Day. And we went all the way to extra time, and Johnny Kelly popped up, and fair play to me, just a bit of quality inside the box, and he put it away. And here we are today in the final.
Johnny's having a great season, Johnny Kelly, and it's fair to say he's probably one of your main attacking threats. How vital is he on Sunday to...
Oh, Johnny is, he's a class act, Johnny. You can put him anywhere in the field really well. Midfield or up front there, like you can, if there was Les missing, you might have to drop him back into midfield, or you up front, you could play Johnny anywhere. He's he's one of our most talented players. He have a fierce eye for goal, you know. I suppose a lot of other players, younger players, feed off him as well, because they know that he have a good reputation of being a good player all around West Cork. So younger players are coming through there feeding off him as well, you know, which helps the whole story, you know.
How does the tag of underdogs sit with you for Sunday? Because Drinagh are obviously defending this title and they're going well in the Premier. They had a superb season last year, but being underdogs, will that actually help you going in? Because will it kind of ease some of the pressure? Or?
Oh, it probably will take some of the nerves out of the players, definitely. You know, as long as I won't be too nervous on the day. Like. But definitely, sure. We know what Drinagh is about. They know what we're about as well. Like, but they're definitely everyone probably expect Drinagh to get over us again on Sunday. So it suits us to be underdogs if we're going favourites, like I bossed in the previous games. If we find we're going in favourites against Mizzen, like, it probably didn't hold that well with us, so it should suit us better, I say, hopefully.
When you go back to this year's Premier Division campaign, you played Drinagh obviously twice, drew with him twice, won all on both occasions. Niall Hurley got a goal in one of them, and Johnny Hurley got a goal in the first draw. What can you take from those two games? So,
Drinagh, they never give up. That's one thing about Drinagh. So I used to play each other all through the years, and I've never give up. They are the benchmark for West Cork, like they set the bar.
Yeah.
From that day, which I suppose with Drinagh, we just don't switch off. Like you can't. Like they'll, even if their game is going against them, they'll always go pop up and get a goal off us, which we've done just in the past, you know.
Yeah.
I suppose out of the two games, we know we can go toe to toe with them. They probably know we can do as well. Like we can go toe to toe with them. So out of the two games, I suppose we just to the same. We learn all the last 2 or 3. Then much between us the last 2 or 3 seasons when it comes to playing each other. There'll be an odd goal between us. Like probably this season, Drinagh seemed to be a couple of weeks ago. They beat us in the League Parkway Cup semi-final, and if we go that day playing the way we did that Sunday, Drinagh will wipe us off the park, you know. But
was that actually a good wake up call to get so?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I hope that they kick up the backside, you know. So hopefully the lads realise that on the day that they'll have to be played definitely 78% better than they did that day, you know.
How do you stop an attack like Drinagh? So we all know Barry O'Driscoll is one of the top forwards the last couple of years. What can you do to keep fellas like him quiet?
I'd say the main thing is concentration. If everyone just have their own job, like the likes of Keith Jago there as well now, like he's a vital cog in their team. Like if he's having an off day, I think he's kind of connecting the back to the front, you know. He covers from box to box, you know. Barry, the two Barry O'Driscolls, Barry up front, Barry Harton there is unreal. That's with turn of foot. So we have a couple of lads there. They'll mind them around the day, I hope. You know, take good care of them. I'd say they know each other well now at this stage, you know.
What is the strength of the Togher Celtic team?
The spirit, really, There'll be one word, the spirit, especially this year. Well, last year you could see creepy in their last couple of years. We won a Premier Cup there about 2 years ago with this team, like. And last year we didn't win anything, but we were still competing, you know. Yeah. But this year, it's definitely spirit, like the lads. Most of the players are very consistent in all their job. I suppose I'm lucky that 90% of the lads will be there every week, and it helps them. Say they kind of have their own. They know what other lads is doing. They don't know. Yeah. So
you mentioned too was 1997 when you last won the Beamish Cup, and that was your only time winning it. You were telling me earlier you were actually on the line that day. You were togged off on the line. So what are your own memories from that 22 years ago?
It was in Drinagh. I can remember in Drinagh that day we were playing Crossmahan, Well, I can remember really was all the excitement before it and being told that, oh, you probably won't be coming on today, but well, that was fair enough. I was young at the time. Yeah. And I just remember John Hayden going up and scoring a header. There was only one goal in the game to 1-0. I'd say it wasn't a beautiful game to watch, I'd say, but I can, from memory, serves me correct. But yeah, I didn't realise sitting and standing in line that day that the club would take 22 more years before they'd reach a final, you know.
You could be the lucky omen. So you're involved back in '97. You're in your fourth season as manager this year. So I presume you take a not so pretty 1-0 win on Sunday.
Oh, I'd take anything at all. Last kick of the game, 1-0. Yeah, take anything. OG, anything at all, you know.
What would winning the Beamish Cup final mean to the club?
It'd be great for the club because I suppose we've been winning I suppose not being disrespectful, the smaller cups there up through the years. We, the Beamish Cup was the thing, and the league. Winning your league and winning the Beamish Cup would probably be your top two things to do, and to mean a lot even for the older fellas there now, the likes of the chairman there now, Derek Crowley and Sean Crowley and Tony Cockton and them. They put fierce work behind the scenes, like I'd say to mean as much to them as to any player playing in the field, you know, and to myself and my assistant Kevin Hurley too, like obviously. But yeah, it's like that. We'd probably be more nervous going in that day playing next Sunday, yeah. But to mean a whole lot to the club, like, and it might push on the young fellas too. There's a few young fellas coming through now this year. From the 18 set up down to the 4 or 5 down, just on the 18-year mark, and to probably bring them on a lot. I hope it would anyway. So it'd be very important, you know.
Superb. Finally, you can, since you're here in the studio, you could help clear up something for us, Johnny. Go back to 2014. It was the West Cork Masters against the Republic of Ireland Masters in Dunmanway, and you scored West Cork's second goal that day. But there's a certain local soccer correspondent, Ger McCarthy, whose claim to fame, and he's been talking about this for the last 5 years, is that he set up your goal. It's been non-stop lip from Ger saying he's the reason that you scored. So can you help us clear this up? Did Ger set up the goal? But more importantly, if he did Ger mean to set up the goal?
On the day, I suppose it was a bit of a blurry, really. But I suppose, yeah, Ger was playing right back. I was right side of midfield. Ger was calling me a lot, as if memory serves me correct. Ger was calling me back the whole day. He was afraid that he'd be caught out of position himself. So he was afraid I'd go too far forward. I can remember that distinctly that day. He probably could have passed the ball. He probably did pass the ball, Ger. It came from the right side. Anyway, no, the case did he mean it or not, I don't know. But yeah, that was a great day too for West Cork in general. Like, it was Ger done a lot of work too after seeing too that time. It would be nice to beat them on the day, to be honest about it. When we were up 1-0, the next day we'd equalise, the next day we were 2-1. I thought we'd finish it off, but they scored 5 minutes to go. But yeah, it was a great occasion, and playing the Irish Masters, like, sure, probably never get the chance again. Or I'd say anyone that played that day will never get the chance again now, and I thought it was nice. And we'll say, yeah, Ger meant it, I'd say, on the day.
But what I'm taking from this, Johnny, is that Ger didn't have a turn of pace, and that he was very, very, very heavy-footed, and he was trying to sit very deep, was he?
He was, yeah, he was sitting back, but alright. I can remember Ger going, Johnny, well, Bubbles, this guy pulled back. My nickname is Bubbles, obviously. Yeah. Bubbles, come back, and then I said, come back. At one stage, I said, geez, will we swap places or what? But yeah. But yeah, should we put in a lot of effort? Ger put a lot of effort in that time. He trained it hard that time too. So look, we won't take it away from it, on fairness.
I know, brilliant. Come here, Johnny. Thanks so much for joining us in the studio today. Best of luck on Sunday, and hope it works out.
Thank you for listening to the Star Sports Podcast. Don't forget to pick up this week's Southern Star, featuring our award-winning sports section that has everything a sports fan in West Cork could want. Available every Thursday in shops across West Cork and online from anywhere in the world. The Southern Star, #1 for sport in West Cork.
I'm joined now by Ger McCarthy, the soccer expert of West Cork, to talk about Sunday's final, Ger. Obviously, just to get first off on this, what's the importance of the Beamish Cup here in West Cork?
Kieran, I think it's not understating it to say that it's probably the most important, the most prestigious tournament in the West Cork League, for not just for this year, but for many years. It's down through the years. It's the one game, even for people that would have a passing interest in West Cork League soccer. a lot of people would read about and be interested in and turn up for the Beamish Cup final. I suppose the easiest, explanation of it is when the FA Cup in England was at its peak and at its highest, attracting large TV figures and whatnot. It was one of the biggest events in English football. It's not anymore. And in West Cork, while there's a lot of prestige associated with winning the Premier Division title, the biggest day out is the West Cork League's Beamish Cup final, and it usually attracts the biggest crowd as well.
What are your own memories from it? Because we all know you played yourself before for a couple of years. Have you any good memories from the Beamish Cup go back over the years?
I have good and bad memories of it. With Clonakilty AFC, I was lucky enough to be part of a squad that won the tournament in the early 2000s. But unfortunately, I had a shoulder injury that meant I didn't take any part in the final itself. We beat Bunratty actually in the Baltimore Road ground. Very, very good game. One of the things I remember about it, and one of the things that I think is important for people to note, is that for clubs that struggle with numbers maybe throughout the year and throughout the league campaign, they always have their strongest team out for the Beamish Cup. It's an opportunity, a giant killing act, or an opportunity to actually get to a final. It is hugely important because local parishes that may not have a big interest in soccer tend to come out on the day to support the local team if they can reach it. I was lucky enough to be part of a team that the momentum you gain as well, maybe things aren't going so well in the league, but the momentum you gain from a cup run, especially in the Beamish Cup, can be huge for a team. You see the likes of Mizzen getting to the semi-finals this year. They had a great year in the championship. That really brought them on as well. And the likes of Togher even reaching a final. It's not something they do very often, but it is a big and it's an important thing to them. So from playing in it and from watching the last 10, 15 years, being at the finals for the last 10, 15 years, you see the impetus, the momentum that teams gain, and they look to then continue that into the following season. So yeah, it is. It's important. Maybe winning it is lovely, but I think the importance you gain and the momentum, especially rural clubs gain from being associated with it in the latter stages of it is still very, very important.
Looking more closely at Sunday's final, we look at Drinagh Rangers first, Ger. Where do they rank this team? Where do they rank in terms of the top West Cork teams over the last couple of decades? Because it's a team that won it all last season. They're in the hunt again for trophies again this year. So where do they rank, Ger?
That's a good question. Currently, I would say of all the competing teams in West Cork over the last 5 to 6 years, even in that short time period, they are by far the strongest and the most talented. I guess the biggest compliment I can pay a team like the current Drinagh setup is that they know how to win ugly. They play a lot of great football. They drew 7 matches at the start of the Premier Division season. Normally that would scupper any title hopes, and yet they play Ballyhob and they play Dunmanway in the coming weeks, which could determine them. They could retain the title having drawn 7 matches, and that alone tells you just their sheer will to win and the depth of their squad, which has been tested this year and last year for the first time. They still keep coming back and winning trophies. Comparing them to teams in the early 2000s and before that even, there's been some fantastic teams down through the years. Togher have always had a very, very strong team, and they've always been tough to beat, I suppose, is the kind of the cliche you hear about Togher, but it's true. They may not always win a lot, but you never get an easy game from them. Dunmanway Town, I think down through the years, have also been a team that have also regularly fielded really talented and strong teams and have won trophies. But for sheer longevity, for sheer will to win, and for sheer, I just think, ability from front to back, 1 to 11, and even on the substitute bench, this Drinagh team will go down in history as one of the best ever. Not just because they won 5 trophies last year, because they keep coming back year after year. They're continually challenging for titles. And when you consider that a lot of other teams that compete against them at the top end of the West Cork League tend to have GAA pulling at them at different directions. I'm thinking of the Lyres and the Clonakilties. They have a team that has stuck together, a core 11 or 12 that are there now for a long, long time, over a decade, and they keep winning trophies. And I think history will reflect kindly on them. Whether they win this Beamish Cup or not, I think their place in West Cork League history is definitely set.
Obviously, key to Drinagh's success are Declan, Deasey and Hurley. And I was amazed to find out they've been joint managers for 17 seasons. That's nuts. Like it's a crazy amount of time. What can you tell me about the two of those? Kind of like you obviously you've interacted with them so much over the last couple of years. What makes Don and Declan's joint management team work so well?
That's a very good question. I think when you meet the two of them off the pitch, Declan and Don especially, their calmness personified. They're very, very calm. They're very, very structured in what they want to do. And they are very good managers. You don't have two guys on the sideline working together that long. You don't even have marriages, maybe, unfortunately, nowadays, working that long unless they get along and unless they're able to argue. But what people don't know is that they are incredibly passionate about Drinagh. They really are. They would tell you that they're not the only people that have driven that club, and rightly so, but they have been integral to that team, not alone at junior level, but very importantly at underage level as well. They're hugely important there and have helped drive that club forward. I love watching them on the sideline because they are like Jekyll and Hyde. They're the quietest guys you could ever interview. Getting words out of them after a match sometimes is a challenge. They may not want to talk to you, but on the pitch, you know they're on the sideline, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. But they are very, very passionate, and what makes them stand out from other managers that come and go from the West Cork League, they're able to change the course of a game with a substitution at the right time, or maybe a tweak of the tactics. And the guys on the pitch, you ask any of the guys, the Barry O'Driscolls, the Keith Jagos, the Rob Regans who've come through the ranks, they play for those two guys. They want to win for Drinagh and for themselves, but they really want to win it for those two because of the effort, the time, and the sheer passion that the two of them have, not just for Drinagh, to be fair to them, but for West Cork League soccer in general. They're the first congratulated team if they lose to them. They have their moments on the sideline with referees like all managers do, but it's that passion that people may not realise to win and to come back and to keep coming back winning that drives that team on.
Drinagh will start as favourites on Sunday. So who are the match winners that we should look out for?
I guess the usual suspects that people will point to probably are those midfielders that I've spoken about, and I've seen them in recent weeks, and they seem to be coming into form at just the right time. Garrod White is very important to Drinagh with his pace. He stretches defences. Barry O'Driscoll, Hawthorne up front, the striker, gets a lot of headlines, and rightly so, because I think his ability not just to come up with important goals, but to knit that midfield with attack is hugely important how Drinagh play. The tempo that Drinagh play at, a lot of teams just can't live with. And that's down to Rob Regan in the centre of the pitch and also Garrod White. And I'd also point at their defence doesn't get a lot of press or maybe a lot of attention, but Barry O'Driscoll, and in goal as well, Rob Oldham. I mean, he just keeps rolling back the years. I'm not even going to say what his age is. It doesn't really matter when you watch him play. He's that composed, the goalkeeper, and his ability and his defence's ability to shut down teams, whatever boat is ahead of them, I think will be vital to what I think is going to be a very tight and probably not a greatly entertaining game. I hope I'm wrong, cup final. But what they did against Dunmanway in the semi-finals, they had an off day. Drinagh had an off day, and Dunmanway missed an opportunity to put them away. But they were able to stick in even when they were playing badly, and their defence, the back four and that goalkeeper were able to withstand all that pressure and still get them over the line. And that's what makes them stand out from all the other teams in the top tier.
Drinagh will start, like we're saying there, they'll start as favourites on Sunday. But Togher Celtic and you mentioned giant killings there earlier in our conversation. What chance do Togher have on Sunday?
I give them a fighting chance, and there's a couple of reasons. Number one, they have no fear of Drinagh. They respect them. And we talk about passion on the sideline. You watch the passion on the sideline with Togher in this cup final. I know a lot of the people involved behind the scenes, and again, very important, they've got a very good underage structure for a club that's a rural club with not a lot of playing numbers. They keep coming out year after year in the Schoolboys League, delivering teams and good teams as well as that. It's going to be extremely difficult for them. They know that. They've already played Drinagh a couple of times this year, so we know what to expect. But the big game changer for me this time around is it's on the Baltimore Road playing pitch. It's a bigger pitch. It's a beautiful playing surface. And like Drinagh, in their semi-final, Togher were very lucky to get over Mizzen. Very, very lucky. They did not play well. It was that type of game. The wind, it wasn't a great game of football. It was tense. It's like a semi-final you'd expect from a semi-final. But in Johnny Kelly up front, they have a match winner. They have a guy that if you feed him like he did in extra time, give him the ball in the dangerous areas, he has the ability to score. But I would expect Drinagh to counteract that, which means at the back, they're going to have to be especially solid. They're really going to have to play well. And they've got some fantastic players. They've got Kevin Cotter, they've got Ian Hurley, they've got youth. One thing Togher have, I think, this year is that they've got a couple of lads that have come up from the under-18s, and a guy to watch out for as well is Robbie Lucy, who may or may not start. He may come off the bench. He's a potential match winner, even though he's quite young. They, along with Drinagh, have addressed what, with the greatest respect to their first 11s, an ageing team. They brought in legs and guys that can run for 90 minutes. And I covered their game for the Southern Star in the quarterfinals at home to Ballydehob. Now, Ballydehob are having a fantastic season. Mark Cronin and all those players, they're still in contention for the Premier Division title. And Togher battled all day long and beat them. They did the same against Mizzen. They dug in defensively, 2 banks of 4, very, very solid, very hard to break down. But the concentration levels for 90 minutes and beyond, I would imagine, in this Beamish Cup final will have to be 100%, because you cannot let your guard down against Drinagh. I give them a fighting chance because they know what they're up against. They've played them on numerous occasions this time, Drinagh, so they know what they're going to be. They know what they're going to be facing, and the pressure's off. There's absolutely no pressure on Togher, because I don't think they're going to win it. Very few outside of the Togher camp expect them to win it. And when you turn up for a cup final, it's amazing what happens some days. Like when the pressure's off, some players play above what they normally do, and some players, when there's no pressure on them whatsoever, give that bit more, are able to give that bit more and perform that bit better. It'll be very, very tight. I don't expect a lot of goals in this Beamish Cup. I hope I'm wrong in this Beamish Cup final. But if it's a tight game coming into the last 10, 15 minutes and you've nothing to lose, they will trouble Drinagh, and they have the ability to trouble Drinagh. But it requires their best performance of the season if they are going to cause an upset.
Where can they hurt Drinagh? So
I think down either flank, they've got to stop. One of the things Drinagh do very well is their 2 centre backs stay on the edge of the box quite a lot. But a lot of the times, the guys that I spoke about, Gerard White, like the likes of the likes of Barry O'Driscoll, who comes deep, they're allowed to do that because their fullbacks push up so much. They're able to push up so much. So whatever Togher do or whatever tactic they come up with, I don't think they can afford to sit back. I think if you sit back and let Drinagh come at you, you're asking for trouble. And the first 10, 15 minutes of any cup final are critical that you don't concede. We saw it in Turner's Cross a couple of years ago with Bantry Bay Rovers. A very good team that went up there, took on Drinagh. But as soon as they conceded early, everything changed, and Drinagh went on to score 3 or 4 goals. You can't let this Drinagh team get momentum. So I would expect plenty of robust, hefty challenges in the first 5 to 10 minutes. So hopefully the refereeing will allow for some of that. And you've got to let them know that you're there. And I know that's sounds like a cliche, but I think they need to flood midfield. I think they did that quite well against Mizzen, but the problem was they bypassed it. They went long too often and lost possession. And I think if you can push up on Drinagh's fullbacks, squeeze them at the top of the pitch rather than the middle of the pitch and letting them come onto you, you generally have a chance. But where they've absolutely got to be 100% as well in this Beamish Cup final is set pieces. It's one of the chances I think they have. They've got a very big team, tall team, Tor, and they are good from set pieces. They're very strong from corners. They scored from a free kick in a corner against Ballydehob in the quarterfinals. It is a strength that they have, but they didn't deliver on it against Mizzen. And I think that was a combination of nerves, perhaps, and also the condition. It was very windy, and it prevented them from doing that. If they can force a couple of corners and free kicks early in the game, and if they can force enough of them, they are going to put some pressure on that Drinagh defence. And I really, really think that they've got to put the best foot forward. You cannot, and I'm repeating myself now, sit back against Drinagh. They'll hurt you, no matter what you are, no matter how good you are at the back. And they are very, very good, Tor. They're 2 banks of 4. They're very diligent. They always have a good shape. They've got to squeeze higher up the pitch, and they've got to go for it. They've got to go for it as early as they possibly can. If they go 1 down early, it's going to be extremely difficult. But if they score early, if Togher score early, that's going to put a very different complexion on the cup final, because now you're dragging Drinagh further out the pitch. And with Johnny Kelly up there, with Niall Hurley, they've got, and Robbie Lucy potentially, as I mentioned, Togher can catch you on the break, push up early, and if their set pieces are good, which they were, or they have been any time we've seen them this year, they have a chance.
It's prediction time, Ger. I'm going to get you to put your reputation on the line and gaze into your crystal ball. So what we have here, we have a Drinagh Rangers team going for 3 in a row. We have a Togher team looking for their first Beamish Cup win since 1997. I think Johnny Collins was telling me. So which way is it going to go, and why?
My head says Drinagh Rangers are going to win this, because they are now they're in the business end of the season when they're pushing for not just this trophy, but a number of trophies. The Premier Division title is always the most important to them, according to Don Hurley and Declan. That's rightly so. But they want this. I think the historic nature of retaining a Beamish Cup is important to them. And I think because of that, and because they've been hitting form after drawing all those games at the start of the season, I think they're in a very good place. Last year, they were crippled a little bit by injuries at various stages. They have a lot of those players back now, and they also have youth, a couple of young players that have come in from the under-18 team, making their presence felt on that first 11. Baltimore Road pitch is going to suit Drinagh. if it's a sunny day, if it's a nice day, and I think if they're tuned in 100%, I can only see one outcome, and that is, unfortunately for Togher Celtic, as much as I would love to see Togher cause an upset, I think we're looking at a Drinagh Rangers victory, 2-1, maybe 1-0. I don't see a lot of goals in this final. Both defences are very, very strong. If there's going to be an upset, to flip the coin, if Togher are going to cause an upset, an awful lot of things have to go their way. Every one of the players has to perform above what they've been doing this season, and they have to have a little bit more control. Where they were getting into the final third against Mizzen in the semi-final, and Ballyhob too, to a degree, even though they scored a few goals, they weren't able to have that composure in the final third and take the chances when they arose. They're going to have to take every chance that comes their way in the Beamish Cup final. If they don't, it's going to be the outcome I think and a lot of people expect, and that's Drinagh Rangers to lift another trophy.
Well, I have you on the line here, Ger. I was talking to Johnny Collins about this alleged assist for his goal against the Republic of Ireland Masters a couple of years ago. Obviously, West Cork against Ireland in Dunmanway. Johnny, whatever you have on Johnny, he seems to think that you meant that assist. Other people have spoken to think you didn't mean the assist. So we can clear this up once and for all. Johnny is firmly in your camp. He thinks you did mean it. Others think it was an accidental kind of just the ball bounced off a leg and fell in Johnny's direction. So what's your version of events here, John?
Well, I'm really glad you give me an opportunity to clear this up, Kieran, because it's been troubling me for some time. When you come on as a right back against a Republic of Ireland international team and you're able to trap the ball with one leg, dribble, and play a perfectly weighted pass through 3 internationals to Johnny's legs, that all he has to do is lash it in, I'm just going to leave it at that, because I think that really just says it all. It was 100% probably the best move of a match, including multiple internationals. And anyone that was lucky enough there on the day to see my trap, my pass, and my move. To be fair, if we're going to be honest and give a balanced review of that match, other than that one pass, things were quite difficult for me that day. There was a guy called Brian Morrisroe who played for St. Pat's, who I've since become great friends with on Facebook. He tore me asunder. But that moment is cast in stone, and I won't hear any arguments. Or I know some of the people would like to think that I misplaced some of my passes down through my long career. On occasion, I'd agree. Maybe the odd one went astray, or maybe there was a long ball punted out of defence. But for that goal against an international defence, again, 3 international defenders threaded through the eye of a needle. I mean, whatever cliche we want to add to it, I'm going to take full credit for that and not listen to any criticism. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm glad we've that cleared up once and for all. Ger McCarthy makes that pass. We can put everything else to bed. No, Ger, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll chat to you again soon.